This meeting is being recorded.
The American dream lives on, and this is Dusty, aka Raimondi, and you're drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody. Want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure, link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. It helps with those pain in the butt algorithms. We're most places you can find your podcast, like Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Today, I'm excited to have with me. You have probably seen him on some videos lately going across social media. Him in front of Ric Flair. Him with Cody Rhodes and Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. I have the man with me himself right now. How you doing?
The American dream lives on, baby. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Have a drink for the worker, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I'll have a drink from a Dr. Pepper, if you will.
What happened to the Meliella? You're supposed to be drinking the Meliella.
You know what? If I could find it anywhere around here, I would.
Go on there, the Google machine, try the eBay, and find a Meliella. It'll match the cheese heads. You know what I'm saying? The cheese head hat you got on there.
You know what? You got a good point there. I'll have to go give that a
Meliella.
look.
Yes.
My wife tells me I have a bit of a Dr. Pepper problem. I tell her I have it all figured out. The only problem I have is if I don't have any.
If you will.
If you will. But man, it is awesome to have you on. I've seen the videos. I've seen the reactions that, Cody Rhodes and Ric Flair have given you. But before we get into talking about that, the first thing I'd like to start off with all my first-time guests is, what got you started as a fan? And then I have to switch up the second part of this. Mm-hmm. What got you started? What gave you that idea to bring on the persona of the American dream, if you will?
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm really happy to be on your show. I started watching wrestling, WWF at the time. Believe it or not, at the beginning of Hulkamania, my dad, I remember him telling me Iron Sheik is fighting Hulk Hogan for the championship. And he got a tape of it, and he said, Hulk Hogan, beats the Iron Sheik for the championship. Do you want to watch it? And I was pretty much hooked right there. That was, I'm going to be 42. And my dad took me to a WrestleMania 2 closed caption at the theater in Madison Square Garden. And I got to watch WrestleMania 2 on a big screen. I remember I had my Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy LJN figures at the time, just smashing them together. And all the people in the audience were laughing at me. They see me just like smashing the figures all night long. So I've been watching wrestling since then. Literally, the birth of Hulkamania is when I started. Fast forward a few years after that, Hogan and Warrior start feuding during that time. And I was a traditional wrestling fan as a kid. I always liked good guy versus bad guy.
Yeah.
And when Hogan and Warrior were going at it, I was so big with Hogan, and I kind of felt like maybe this wasn't going to be good for him. Maybe he had finally met his match. And in comes Dusty, and Dusty starts feuding with all the great heels: Honky Tonk Man, Big Boss Man, $1 Million Man. And he's not muscle-bound Hogan. He's not muscle-bound Warrior. And he's having a lot of fun doing it, because I don't know if you remember back then, Hogan and Warrior would go on and on with the promos Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Warrior would be like, load the spaceship with the rocket fuel, Hulk Hogan. The pilots are making the sacrifice. And Hogan's like, well, brother, my Hulkamaniacs are gonna beat your Warriors, brother, and on and on. And I'm like, I just, I just started to like, here's Dusty, baby. He's just a common man, you know what I'm saying? And he was having fun, and that's how that's the first time I had started seeing Dusty as a kid, and I've been hooked ever since.
Oh yeah, no, that was around the time that I started getting hooked. Back before there was Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro and all that stuff of the Attitude Era, but back when it was still I'm forgetting.
Superstars.
Yes, Superstars
of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge were the two shows. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was times out here in Nebraska where we would sometimes we catch it, other times it'd be like, wait, I thought this was okay, and then you'd very spottily catch it. So
right.
Every time I saw that it was on, I'm like, sat right down, like, I'm watching this.
Right. My dad would tape the Saturday night main events. I don't know if you remember, anything on like NBC. They might have switched over, and I'd wake up crack of dawn Sunday as a kid and watch them pretty much the whole day. I'd rewatch them the whole week until the next one. Those Saturday night main event shows were big. We're spoiled now. We weren't getting wrestling every night on the internet nonstop. I mean, when it was on, it was, either you caught it, you taped it, or you didn't see it. There's no replays. There's no YouTube. Mm-hmm. So you had to be kind of on point if you really wanted to see it. And I remember telling my dad, he's like, listen, it's on real late. He's like, but I'll tape it. It'll be in the VCR in the morning. Baby, if we turn back time, if you will, baby, we're going back in time. Where things were a little simpler back then.
Oh, and he the people these days, it is such an amazing time, especially right now as of recording. We are in the midst of WrestleMania week. We have such a big array of choices for people that are fans of professional wrestling. Pretty much this week, I'm going to say, from, if not Friday and Saturday, but literally every single day this week, Monday through Sunday, we're clear into hell next week. Good Lord, now that I think about it, clear until next Friday.
Right.
All
Correct.
the way until next Friday, every single day of the week, at least one show every single day. And back then, we'd be clamoring for that next one because it wasn't every week.
Yeah, it wasn't every week, and you only got to see your favorite, and you didn't there was no internet, but you don't know what's going on. I mean, I remember as a kid when Dusty left WWF in 1991. I think he had tagged with Dustin and at the Royal Rumble, and then he's gone. And you're watching, you're like, where is he? I'm a kid. Where'd he go? And then you go to school, and someone's like, oh yeah, he was on WCW TV. He was commentating. I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean he was commentating on WCW? I'm like, what's WCW?
Yep, no, I remember those days.
I'm on WCW, where the big boys play. I'm saying WCW.
Yeah, where the big boys play. But I remember those days where you would have to be up on going to the stores and finding the magazine racks and finding you maybe while mom or dad's out wandering around the grocery store, you go over to the magazine rack and pull it out and just start flipping through and
correct.
Holy crap, I didn't know he went there.
Right.
Yeah,
I think wrestling's lost a little magic when we know everything went on. I think it had a little more magic back then. Maybe just because I was a kid, but I definitely felt it had a little more magic back then.
No, there is an argument that can be made for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nowadays with all these, and while they're cool programs, stuff like, you know, AEW just launched their All Access show,
Right.
this or that, and the documentaries. And while they're cool, yeah, you do lose a little bit of that mystique, that magic.
Right.
But when you're in the midst of a show, that in a way makes their job mean that much more, because back then, you know, the job of a professional wrestler has always been to, you know, suspend people's belief, because, you know,
Right.
people, even more so now, they're knowledgeable of the, I hate the term fake. I prefer the term predetermined.
Right.
Where, because, you know, you can't fake some of the damage those guys take.
Absolutely not.
And, you know, even more so now, maybe makes the job mean that much more, because, you know, people know even more than they did back then. So to be able to suspend somebody's relief, and, you know, those that watch most, if not all, the wrestling out there, and can be like, you know what, I saw it going one way, but you're making me wonder if I'm thinking the right way here.
Mm.
And, you know, we talked a little bit about some of the places you've been seen. You know, you've been lucky enough to be invited into the ring with Cody Rhodes.
That is an
performing the
understatement.
American Dream.
That is an understatement. Lucky is an understatement.
Oh no, I can admit, because holy crap, when I saw that video, my jaw was like, oh, like holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah. I'm really blessed, and none of anything that I do, like I'll make some funny videos by myself and now and then, but any of the stuff with the wrestlers is just, you know, not planned. I just bought a ticket like everybody else, and you know, I'm sitting there and he has his match, and you know, he's talking, and when he says it's Dusty in the arena, my heart dropped. I said, wow. And then, you know, he had said, I'm going to ask, you know, I have a very weird request. Dusty, can you come down to the ring? And I'm just like, you know, a lot of it is a blur. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And you know, I get to take a walk down the aisle, and the referee behind me, really nice guy. He's like, go up the steps, be careful, go through the middle rope. He's like, you know, just be careful, don't fall.
Oh,
and I'm in the ring, and I'm like, you know, I shake Gallows' hands, and then, you know, Cody's would do the whole Bull Club, and I was just, you know, in disbelief, and the crowd is cheering for me like I'm getting a pop. And
right?
I said to Cody, I said, I don't even know how to say thank you. I said, I don't even know how to, you know, what to say to you. Thank you so much. And he had said some nice words to me, and I said, hey, can I raise your hand in victory? And he said, of course. And I raised his hand, and I pointed to him like, you know, like you see, you know, passing the torch, and you see Rock.
Yeah.
And it's a once in a lifetime moment, and I'm really blessed, and I thank him for that. He's really, as a kid, you dream of that, and I'm really lucky that him and his family support what I do, and it's all in fun, and then you sit in your seat, and people are like, well, WWE made a video about you on their Instagram, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, and I'm very emotional. I'm really, you know, like I'm emotional talking about it. I'm like, wow. I'm like, you know, if you know, I'm in the ring, and then my face, you know, and what I'm doing, dressed as Dusty, you know, a tribute to Dusty, is under the WWE social media, and I'm like, this is unbelievable, and I'm glad people appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no, wow. I just remember when I first saw you and you were standing next to Cody, there was that time where he saw you and he you did the impression. I think it was the first video people really saw. And I'm
Yes.
like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then to get that chance again, but this time getting to be in the ring, that's stuff.
Yeah.
What most people only dream of stuff like that.
Pun intended.
Yeah, a pun intended, definitely. You know what? I didn't even think about that when I said it. But, people definitely, they only dream of an experience like that. It's weird.
Yeah, he's given me two moments where they are both on par, and I told I had told Cody, I said in my life, there's the birth of my daughter, my wedding, and all the great stuff I've done with Dusty are on par with the greatest moments in my life. And I told him that, and he was really taken back at it, how much it meant to me for for him to do that. And I tell, some people were like, who is this guy? I laugh when people write articles, Dusty Rhodes impersonator. And baby, I'm just a common man, you know what I'm saying? I really am just a common man. And I tell people, they're like, what's your secret? I said, I just show up as Dusty and good things happen.
It does seem
And
that
it's
way.
the God's honest truth. And it's happened. And when I went to the show recently, when he brought me in the ring, I'm with my nephew. And he had told me, you think Cody's going to see you? You think he's going to acknowledge you? Or I said, I don't think lightning can strike twice. I said, if he sees me and I get a picture with him, it would be unbelievable. I said, but for lightning to strike twice, I don't know about that. And it did. It did. And
yeah.
It puts a smile on my face. And I'm so happy knowing how happy it makes him. Because every interaction I've had with him, he's been laughing and smiling. And I know it's a totally different story, like behind the scenes, that he lost his dad unexpectedly. And how he still grieves, and he's still able to appreciate my, I guess, fun-loving version of Dusty. And because the man was a husband and a father and a grandfather and a great grandfather, and for him to, and I know the family's still grieving and fans are still grieving over him, and they miss him every day, and including me. But for him to even open up to someone, paying tribute to him and doing this, and I take a lot of pride and seriousness in doing it.
Oh, and you can definitely tell, and the way I've always looked at it, and maybe I would like to think Cody feels the same way. It's like you're keeping the memory of his father alive in everything that you're doing with it. And I can imagine anybody doing that, especially you, just means that much more to him, because like you said, that was his father.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. That really humbles me when they tell me you're keeping the dream alive, and I always tell them, listen, he has his legacy, he has his children and his grandchildren. I'm kind of his out there in the conventions and out there at the, it's like, you can't think of wrestling without Dusty, and look, Dusty's here. And I've been doing it for like 10 years now, but recently after COVID-19, when everything kind of went back to normal and I started going to events again, is when people really started noticing me.
And what, unfortunate, the world had to go through what it did, but now you're out there and people are loving it. And, one person who was, both a friend and a rival of Dusty's that you got to end up meeting here not all that long ago, the one, the only Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And I have a bone to pick with him with that convention that you met him at, because he was scheduled to be here in Omaha that same day.
That is correct.
And, lots of people here in Omaha weren't too happy about that.
Yeah, that convention he was there, Cody and Charlotte and Edge, and it was insane. The lines, I mean, the amount of people there. I wasn't even going to meet Rick, a good friend of mine, Lou. I call him Mr. Polka Dots. He kind of comes with me now to the events, and great guy. And he was going to see Charlotte, and he said, come with me to see Charlotte. I want to have my belts on. You hand it to her. You'll have a good interaction. And as soon as I walk in the room, Rick is there and he sees me and he points to me and he starts saying, "I like your outfit." And I don't think he knew I was going to do the voice. And I said, "Rick, only I can get these polka dots over. You know what I'm saying? I had to come here and wear these polka dots." I said, "Because I was a common man." And I said, "By the way, Rick, I'm downstairs and with the common people waiting in the lines in the rain and the cold. You up here, you up here whining and dining with kings and queens." And he's laughing and he's telling me, Cody's got to see this. And I just, as long as he's going to keep going with me, I'm going to keep going with him. And you see Charlotte for a second looking, she's like, "What is going on here?" She's
I
like,
kind of
"What?"
caught a little bit of a glimpse of
Yeah,
that.
she's like, "What is going on?" She's probably like, "Dad, calm down a little." It's, and and I didn't really even notice or hear it because at the end of the video, he's saying, he's like, "That is so great." He's like, "You're almost as good as Jay Lethal." And I was like, wow, I was like, Jay Lethal is great with the impressions and everything he does. And
Yeah.
for him to say that to me, I was like, wow. I was like, because, Rick to me is, man, he's on the Mount Rushmore. He's with the top names ever.
Oh, totally.
And for him even to have that interaction with me is another amazing moment. And it was unexpected. And I didn't even know anyone was filming. I was just going with it. I said, I got to make the most out of this opportunity. And, if he's going to talk to me, I'm going to talk to him.
Hey, you get that chance, with one of those, for lots of people, once in a lifetime thing.
Right. I mean, he's sitting there, you meet him and take a picture, you sign an autograph, it's like next. And I wasn't even there to see him. So I think you can't say Ric Flair without Dusty Rhodes, and you can't say Dusty Rhodes without Ric Flair.
Oh, that is those two are very attached there, especially those NWA, WCW days. You think of, when you think of the NWA/WCW, you think those two have to be like top of the list, right there.
Especially Jim Crockett and NWA, definitely. Those, it's Harley Race, it's Flair, it's Dusty. There's a lot more names, but and then as you go onto WCW, you think Flair. I always think Flair and Sting were the faces of WCW. Dusty's in-ring career kind of was, full-time in career was over by the time he went back to WCW to be a booker. I just hope, I wonder if people see that and they just, how many people who've never seen it, because I never saw Jim Crockett or NWA when I was a kid. I only knew Dusty and WWF at the time. So I wonder how many people will just Google Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, and be like, wow, be like, this is what Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair was about, just because of that interaction.
No, I'll admit I was somewhat guilty of that, because I mean, in a way, not really my fault. Wasn't really born at the time, but getting to go back and seeing all those, and then remembering back to the days where, the WCW I got to see first off was the WCW Saturday nights.
Right.
And I've told this story a few times where I was born and raised into a Catholic family. My parents always wanted to attend Mass on Saturday nights. And I remember when I first started noticing WCW Saturday night, that they probably wouldn't look too thrilled about me back then. But I remember thinking to myself, oh God, can we skip tonight? I really want to watch WCW.
You talking about Saturday night 6:05 at the Super Station at the Mothership?
Yeah,
the Mothership Station.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The 6:05, where he, that's really Dusty's, everyone remembers that with him saying. I'm going to give you a total opposite of this end of the spectrum. I think just growing up in Brooklyn, New York, it was all about San Martino at the time. And believe it or not, my family kind of once, besides my dad, my family, once Hulk Hogan came in and the cartoonish / comic book era started, my other uncles and fathers were like, oh, this isn't the wrestling I want to see anymore. And I actually, I started at that time. So they were watching all the Bruno Sammartinos and Superfly Snuka and that era.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember as a kid that NWA or Jim Crockett ever being on the TV in my house. For some reason, I don't know. I don't think it was purposely. I just think I don't know.
No, that part of the country definitely didn't really get exposed to them too much. Me, where I'm at, I came in, I think, towards the tail end of the Jim Crockett days of it, but it was really those first WCW Saturday night shows that was my first exposure to them, and getting to see some of those guys. And well, while we're on more wrestling talk, I mentioned we're in the midst of WrestleMania week. One of the best times of the year to be a wrestling fan. All the shows going on. You go to this year LA and literally at multiple shows every day of the week. What would you say is something like the stuff that you are most looking forward to with WrestleMania this year?
Well, I'm going to be biased, and obviously it's Cody versus Roman. I mean, this is a story, how many years in the making? Rhodes is going to headline a WrestleMania for the world title. It's really a crazy story, and Cody, I think, is ready to be the top guy in the industry. And some people are kind of saying, well, I don't know if he's earned it in WWE. He was hurt. This isn't, he says finish the story because his story started there, but he has to include everything he's done in the middle. Going back to the independents, starting AEW, everything that went on in AEW, his injury. It's been a long, hard road for him. A road for WrestleMania, if you will. And he doesn't hide anything about it. And he's honest about it. And he literally said, listen, I'm coming back to win that title and be the best professional wrestler in the world. And as Ric Flair said, I believe when you hold that title, you are the best. When he won the Royal Rumble, he had said that. And this is a huge, this is for the Rhodes family, and his family's along for the ride. I mean, Dustin, and the whole Rhodes family who never got to see Dusty on top of WWF is and can it be done? Is Cody a top guy? So to me, it's the biggest story. The Bloodline story has been unbelievable. And we'll see how it unfolds. I wish I was going to be there. I'm not going to be there, but I'll be there in spirit, and hopefully Cody gets that belt and he has a big run, and hopefully me and Cody have some future meetups again. Who knows? I'll never know. Just show up. I'm going to say just show up as Dusty, and you never know what's going to happen.
Hey, maybe next time you get a little holding the bell action there, that would be something.
That would be
no.
The lightning strike 3 times? Who knows?
Hey,
I don't know. But
it's done it twice. Third time's a charm, as they say.
Right.
But that, yes, obviously for me too, one of the most things I'm looking forward to for WrestleMania this year. And you bring up the Bloodline story. One of the other ones that I know a lot of people are looking forward to with the Bloodline story, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens going up against the Usos for the undisputed tag team titles. And funny enough, it was a year or 2 ago, my family had the idea of going down to Disney World. And I knew, back then, I want to say it was still the Thunderdome era, as they're calling it.
Right.
And, they had a lot of stuff down there in that area. So I knew, was it possible that I could run into somebody? Yes. But it was funny enough, we're getting ready to leave. I dropped something, so I bend down to pick it up. My wife's still walking ahead of me. I get up, And right as I'm like not fully standing up, I see that tattoo, that T-Rex tattoo on his arm, and my jaw drops, and I'm like, oh. And he was with his family, so I was like, you know what? As much as I want to say hello, he's with his family. That's just going to draw attention to him, and it's going to take away from time with his family. I know I saw him. I'm gonna run to my wife and be like, "Holy shit! You gotta see! I gotta tell you what I just saw."
Yeah, he's I'm sure people have. I think there's pictures of him on the internet with like the mousy and our ears on and all that.
Yeah,
and he's really into it with his kids and stuff. But that's a meeting so many people doing this. Is like I said, I'm just a fan. You realize that most of them are just they're normal, good people. As big as they are, Cody Rhodes does not have to bring a fan into the ring. Whoever you're dressed up as, he does not have to do that. He can wave hello to me and say, I like the outfit. And that would, that's enough. He doesn't have to do that. And Flair doesn't have to, so as we look at them as larger than life, and there are I've met a lot of really good people. Some of the people I hated when I was a kid, the heels, like the Mountie and Sergeant Slaughter I had met, and I had told him, both of them, I said, oh, when I was a kid, I have to tell you, I hated you. I couldn't stand your guts. And both of them gave me the same answer was, well, that's the biggest compliment you could give me because I was doing my job.
Yeah.
So they're just, they and I'm always, when I see them, I always try and be respectful to it. I say, if they want to talk to me, and a lot of them do, I'm blessed, they'll call me over like, Dusty, come here a minute. So or I'll say hello to them and they'll be like, hey, but most of them have been really nice to me. I'm blessed.
Oh yeah. And since starting my podcast here, I've been able to interact with some big names myself, some that have been released by WWE and have moved on to some big things. Like I've met John Morrison. I met him recently.
Mm-hmm.
I met Kushida.
Mm-hmm.
Met Swerve and Keith Lee in the same show. Got figures signed by those guys. So like, you know what? Another guy that actually just not all that long ago just came back to WWE and is going back by Bronson Reed. I got to meet him at an independent show in St. Louis, and he even agreed to do a little bit shortened version of an episode for the podcast. But hey, he took time from right after the Fan Fest ended to right before the show was supposed to start. He literally went from finishing recording with me to going back and getting his gear on.
No, it's really cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm forever thankful to him for that. So, like you, I've definitely had some pleasant interactions, and I'll admit there's days where I think back to when I saw Kevin Owens there, and it's like, man, I would have loved to have just got to say something, but I'm like I mentioned, with this family, I'm like, you know what, he deserves this family time. I know I saw him.
Right.
Maybe there'll be another day down the road I'll get to say something.
Yeah.
Maybe even share that story with him.
Funny story. I had seen Paige in the airport coming back from StarCast in Nashville. She was sitting literally across from me. I waved to her. She waved to me. I said, I don't want to bother you. I said, I know you're a big Dusty guy. And I just showed her the picture of me and Cody. I'm like, but Dusty was my favorite. And I showed her that picture. And she was like, oh my God, I love that. I miss Dusty so much. Rewind to the convention I'm at Flair. I'm in the hallway. She's walking by. She sees me. And I'm like, there goes my porcelain princess over there. Look at this, looking so nice. And she remembered me and she gave me a big hug. And she was making me do some Dusty impressions. And so I I didn't want to bother her. I just had told her, hey, I said, good luck with your career. I said, I'm going to be rooting for you wherever you go. I'm like, but I know you're a big Dusty. And when I saw her, she smiled and she pointed to me, and she kind of.
Oh God!
Cut it, coach.
Let's go, baby!
Come on, Kai! Do this, motherfucker! Yeah! Do this, motherfucker!
All right, technical difficulties. That's what happens when your partner, your spouse forgets that you're recording. But anyways, we are back and we were talking about the interaction you had with the one, the only Paige, or I guess I can't even pronounce the name she's going under now in AEW.
Yeah, it's hard for me to think of her as anything but Paige. I'm sure a lot of people. It's hard. Soraya.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure people will understand that.
And I don't think she even gets mad when people call her Paige because we've just been so used to seeing Paige.
Totally. Yeah, because for so long that's what she went under. So I can totally see, people still, coming up and wanting to meet her, and then
right.
They might have in the back of their head that, oh, that's it, but then boom, there comes Paige again.
Right. I mean, I still say WWF. You hear me, catch myself. How many years it's been?
Oh yeah, no, totally. It happens with a lot of people. You find people that are going and they'll say like WWF at the time.
Right, at the time, back then. So, back to what I was saying, I didn't want to, bother her at the airport. I spoke to her respectful. And then when I saw her again at the convention, she gave me a hug and we were going back and forth and she was making me do Dusty impressions for her. So I think, and especially now where we saw the whole thing in the airport with wrestlers, that's now a big topic.
Yeah.
Say hello. If they want to talk to you or they have the time, they will. And I don't think it's that they don't want to. I think you don't know what's going on, where they're going. Because I've had people brush me off totally and then come back to me, say, hey, sorry, I brushed you off. I was doing this. I said, hey, no problem. So when they want to, you'll never know. Like you said with Kevin Owens in Disney, you never know what can, happen. Just be respectful and, they'll bring you in if they want, some of the guys I work with were like, that was your chance to clothesline that guy out of the ring when you were in there. I said, you really out of your mind. If I would have did any kind of funny business, the only way I was leaving that arena was in an ambulance.
Yeah. No,
but
I
like how they know that even in independent shows, I had gone to an independent show recently, and one of the heels had gotten in my face and he stuck a microphone in my face. I'm very lucky that they know that I'm cooperative and will, go along with things and respectful and easy to work with. So I think I think they really do. Like, hey, this guy's proved himself. He's had a microphone. He's come to the ring. He's always done the right thing. So you reward him. And
totally.
I think it's a part of it. And I would never want to. Like I said, I'm a 42-year-old.
Yeah.
Family man with a wife and a kid and a career. This is fun. This is all fun. This is all fun and games.
Oh yeah. And before we get into a couple things here, that you brought up the recent videos of, I won't even really call them fans at the airports, because you look at some of those videos and these people, it just screams that I'm going to eBay or whatnot with the sheer amount of stuff. And it's a whole nother thing to, run into somebody and, like, let's say you were on a trip that, like a wrestling centered trip, and you had hoped that, maybe you'd run into Rey Mysterio, because that was the big video going around. And you had a Funko Pop or you had a figure that you're like, man, maybe I'll get this signed, and you have that one,
Right.
that it's like, okay, that is like, that more says, this is for my personal collection. I was really hoping to meet you. I know you're busy, but please.
Yeah.
And people that way respectful, but those guys, it just screamed that they were just trying to sell those off.
This is an easy transition to the day I met Dusty. I met Dusty at a convention, and he was sitting there, and I'm wearing full polka dots. So he's sitting there, and he's just signing, and he's got his head down. He doesn't look happy. He was getting up there and he's uncomfortable. And I hear people saying, "Can you sign this Dream? Can you sign this Hall of Famer?" And they don't even care. It's him. It's more about the merchandise, him signing and signing and signing.
Yeah.
So when I walk in the room, everyone starts laughing because obviously I have the polka dot outfit on. And like I said, he didn't look happy. And then he looks up and he finds out why everyone's giggling, and he sees me. And he starts smirking. He's like, "Who is this guy in here?" He's like, "Who let this guy in here? Who let him in here?" So then he goes, "No, he's okay. He's okay. And let him in. So he was very, people taking pictures of him. They're kind of not even getting close to him or touching him. And, he reserved, which he has the right to totally reserve. And when I went to see him, I went in for the handshake, and he just grabs me. Like, I remember he had huge hands, and he just hugs me, and he's smiling. And I have the picture with him really smiling. And it was like, and even everyone was very shocked at his, that he was, I was like, "Dusty, how are you?" He was like, "What do you think?" And I had said to him, I said, "Dusty, I've been going to events like this. I went to WrestleMania. All the fans love it. I take pictures with the fans, I was like, "What do you think? Should I keep doing it?" I'm like, "Should I keep it going?" He's like, "Baby, you have to keep it going, baby. You have to." So this was 2013. So I take a picture with him, big smiles. I give him a hug. I say, "Thank you so much." I said, he's like, "I love what you're doing." So 2013, 10 years later, I wonder if he sees what's going on, he's probably like, "That guy in New Jersey is still wearing those polka dots? I can't believe that."
Oh man, I bet he's looking down
he's
and
in the
smiling.
ring. They let this mark in the ring with my son. What is happening out there?
Oh man, I can only imagine he's getting a kick out of all of that.
I think he is, and I think he is. I think as a lot of wrestling fans, like you said before, keep the dream alive. But I'm always respectful of their, I went to shake his hand, "Nice to meet you," and he brought me, and he hugged me, and he had his arm around me, and I put my arm around him. So you kind of got to get a feel of them.
Oh yeah, totally.
I might have caught him, and like I said, it made him smile and it made him happy. But when I saw him before that, I said, "Oh, I don't even know if he's gonna like me dressed like this." He was sitting there with a riff and everything, and they had a lot of his NWA stuff, and I'm in the polka dots, which is always, the polka dots.
Yeah.
And but he he appreciated it, and people say he gave me the blessing, and like I said, I didn't ever think 10 years later I'd be still doing it and what's going on with it. But I'm blessed.
Oh, definitely. Well, I have two categories I like to kind of round things off with.
Mm-hmm.
One's a bit of a name game, and the other's some random questions. Name game, when I came up with the list, some of these guys had some good interactions there with the good old Dusty Rhodes. But, I'll name them off, and you give me your first thoughts on them.
Mm-hmm.
First off, bigwig there now with the WWE, Triple H.
Respect. I think he respected Dusty. I think he respected what Dusty did, and I think he was, he wanted Dusty to teach. I think he respected him very much and still does.
Definitely. Next one, a guy that was one of Dusty's boys when going all the way back to NXT, going up against the American Nightmare this weekend, Roman Reigns.
Proud. I think he's proud of where he's come from and where he is now, and that he at the beginning, we all know he did have a problem with the microphone. It wasn't a secret. I mean, they made it John Cena had let everybody know. And I think he's probably proud and say, hey, nobody's perfect. Everybody's a work in progress.
Oh yeah.
But Dusty saw something in him, and Dusty saw something in him, and he reached his full potential. He reached that American dream. Now reach out and take that American dream.
Yeah, reach out and take it. Next one, a guy also on the card for this weekend, the architect Seth freaking Rollins.
I would say he's like selfless. He is giving. A lot of Cody's comeback has a lot to do with Seth Rollins and those matches they had. And for Seth to accept Cody and work with him, you got to remember they worked those 3 WrestleMania matches, but they were doing live events from that whole time, from April all the way to Cody got hurt. So they've wrestled, dozens and dozens of times. And he was really, he was very giving, and I mean, he's pretty much losing to Cody every single match, pay-per-views, house shows, but it didn't do any damage to him. It actually made him go higher in his career, that he says, yeah, I'm taking these losses and I'm even hotter than I was. So him being so giving and selfless actually worked and rewarded him. And a lot of talent do not want to do that, but he knows it. He's Seth Rollins and I think Cody called him a wrestler's wrestler. And that's it. He's a wrestler's wrestler.
Oh, that is definitely true. Next couple of last 2. One kind of 2-in-1 here. One of my personal favorite tag teams right now, and I'm a fan of tag team wrestling, much like Dusty Rhodes. I mean, they named the Dusty Classic after him. But this is one I'll say I'm thinking is going to be a bit of a sleeper match this weekend, but they are in it. The Viking Raiders.
I'm going to say grit. Very gritty. Very old school, bar fight. You know what I'm saying? Those guys that, beating you up while they're drinking a beer. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Dick Murdoch, you know what I'm saying? Like the Texas Outlaws. Very gritty. Very gritty, old school, tough guys. And that's what Dusty was in the beginning. But him and Dick Murdoch, they say they were no muscle-bound guys, but they said in real life, in the ring, some of the toughest guys in the ring, in the bars. That's what I would use for them. Definitely comes to mind.
Oh, totally. Like I said, 2 of my absolute favorites right now. I mean, I'm just such a fan of tag team wrestling, and I'm glad that they are having a match like that tag team showcase. I'm looking forward to that one in particular. But another one that a lot of people are looking forward to, and this guy, last guy on the list for the name game here, is in this match for the Intercontinental title, the triple threat between Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and the last person on the list for the name game, the Ring General Gunther.
The sky's the limit. I think the sky's the limit with this guy, and he showed so much improvement once he first came in, physically, in every way possible. And remember Cody in the Rumble, him at the end.
Yeah.
the sky's the limit for this guy. Great, just everything about him is screaming, and you could tell he put in the work.
Yeah.
That's really put in the work. Cody
Mhm.
usually says put in the work, but this guy put in work,
That
and it is being noticed. And that Intercontinental title, which I love, is becoming a working title again, a workers title. Like, hey, you want to be a main eventer? You know what? Like Shawn Michaels, like Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect.
Mhm.
Not all of them have made it to main event status, but a lot of them built their careers on an Intercontinental title, which was usually the workers title. And if
Definitely.
he's bringing that back, which I love because that reminds me of Golden Era stuff.
Oh yeah, and you know
So,
what? I hadn't really thought about it, but you bring up a good point. It does seem like he is making the Intercontinental title the working man's title. Like he is very much proving that, hey, you want to get to that level, you're gonna have to go through me and this.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
it was used as a stepping stone. And, things change everything, but I feel that old school with him in the Intercontinental title. I really do.
Definitely.
I feel like, Intercontinental title match. It might not be the main event on the card, but it might be the best match on the card.
Oh, most definitely. And
that's how I felt when I was a kid. It's not going to be Hogan Andre, but man, we're going to see Brett versus Shawn, or Brett versus Hennig, Mr. Perfect, or Honky Tonk Man, or those guys. And even like I said, this could feel a little like Warrior. I mean, could we go back to title versus title, Gunther versus Cody? I don't think that's over.
You know what? There are a lot of people out there that are saying, Cody wins that title, that the at least one of the first guys that's going to be challenging him is Gunther. So who knows?
They've laid a little foundation at the Rumbles, and yeah.
So who knows? We might end up getting that if they don't have Gunther drop the title before. But that would be interesting to get a kind of a callback to the All-American Hogan going up against Warrior, and now you got the American Nightmare up against the Ring General, and it's that would be something pretty sweet.
Baby, it sound like a booker when I was in WCW. I was booking those matches. You know what I'm saying? I didn't book the Shockmaster though. That didn't work out. The Shockmaster, and I didn't book RoboCop either, baby. That wasn't my idea. I didn't want RoboCop coming in there and coming at that cage, if you will.
But hey, you can ask a lot of the friends of mine in the business out here in the independents. I'm coming up with storylines just left and right. Like I just shared a couple with some people last night. Who knows if they end up using it, but I guess we'll see.
Put the book ahead on, baby. Put the book ahead on.
I mean, I got a hat on, so maybe we'll just call this the book ahead. But moving on to random questions, I really only have two questions on here that I keep on, the first and the last one. Well, so damn dog Trent, I got a Great Dane puppy that's just now being able to get up to drink out of the sink. So you might have seen me periodically getting up to be like, hey, get out of there. But like I said, first and last one's the only ones I really keep on there. But we'll get right into it. First one. And here the dog goes over to the sink again. But craziest in-match moment that you've witnessed?
Craziest in-match moment I've witnessed?
Yeah.
Man, the crazy. I'd have to say it's Brock Lesnar beating the streak.
Ooh.
Seeing Brock Lesnar pin Undertaker at WrestleMania. I mean, I'm not the only one who was shocked. They made a T-shirt with that guy's face, but that to me is the craziest in-ring moment, and that I never saw coming, and was like, wow, it is it is really over. Like the changing of the guard has come.
Yeah. No, that is definitely one that was up there, good Lord. I think everybody, when they think of that match, one of the images that comes to their head is that guy's face, that just sheer, almost eyes bugging out of his
I
head.
actually met that guy. He's a really nice guy. I met him at an event.
That's cool.
I have a picture with him. I'm pretty sure as Dusty, believe it or not.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I know I've actually, at some independent shows, I've witnessed some crazy ones. Like, I mean, on TikTok, you've seen some of the stuff I've shared recently.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy that actually introduced me to my wife is a wrestler out here. He had been trying to convince me to go to a show, and lo and behold, he hadn't even been there like half an hour, and he's like, "Hey, I got somebody I want you to meet." And that's here I am now.
Wow.
But one match that he was in, it was this promotion's version of the Money in the Bank match. And they had a ladder bridge between the guardrail and the ring apron. And I see him get this guy on his back. And then he looks down. And I'm like, oh, God, no. He jumps, and I'm on the other side of the ring. So all of a sudden, I just see the ladder fold, and they both disappear on the other side of the ring.
Mm.
And another one was, it was late last year for a promotion owned by Sammy Callahan, Pro Wrestling Revolver. They had a Iowa death match, and the match ended by them taking 4 folding chairs and bridging 2 panes of glass on there. And then one guy's manager comes in, and I see him pull out lighter fluid. And I'm like, oh, no. Lit the glass on fire, and then they both go through, and then boom, match over. Yep. I've been witness to some crazy stuff, but I want to say what's one. But yeah, no, that Undertaker streak ending, I wasn't there in person, but that, and then, oh God, you got to go.
I say Foley getting thrown off the cell has got to be up there.
Oh, totally. That, another Foley one, that hardcore match that he had with Edge, where he spears him and they go through the flaming table,
the lit table, yeah.
Or any of those moments from the TLC matches, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, all some just the stuff that they came up with.
Yeah, you watch it now and you cringe a little bit, like, wow, that was, wow, yeah. that is real high risk. You're not going to see that stuff probably ever again. Not in WWE.
Oh yeah, especially I'm wanting to say it was Jeff Hardy hanging from the belts, and then Edge comes off of the ladder. Oh man, my body hurts watching that.
I'm sure theirs does now.
I can imagine. Well, next question. I like to talk some stuff outside of wrestling, and I consider myself a little bit of a movie buff. What would you say is a favorite movie of yours?
Tough one. It's between either Goodfellas or Rocky. I'm Italian. Both those movies, very different. Rocky is Rocky was a common man too before they got crazy with them. He was a normal underdog guy. And then Goodfellas, some of those guys in the movies actually lived in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. I didn't know at the time when I was a kid. I could watch that movie over and over again. It's just great movie. Reminds me of Old Run. Even with the mob stuff aside, it does have some Italian traditions and things like that. But if I'd say those are my top two that I could watch over and over, and probably my favorites.
Oh, classic movies and heck, Goodfellas, WWE, WrestleMania, going Hollywood. They just did that little Bloodline doing their
Funny
rendition
how.
of oh man, that was, I have to say, in my opinion, that's probably one of the better ones that they've done for that this year.
Agree. Really good.
Oh, they did such a great job. And I'm having to get my dog out of the sink again.
Is that the Junkyard Dog? Is that the British Bulldog? Is that Matilda?
I actually do have an English Bulldog.
Please tell me you named the dog Matilda.
He was already named when we got him. A friend of my wife's was health issues, lived in an apartment, knew
Gotcha.
we had experience with English Bulldogs, so asked if we'd be able to take care of him.
Gotcha. You adopted him.
Oh,
Yes, he looks like Matilda.
it kind of does, doesn't he?
Bring him to a convention. Say it's Matilda. Have people take pictures with him.
You know what? I might have to see if I can make that happen.
Right next to Coco and Frankie.
But yeah, we got a Great Dane that her coloring gets her mistaken for a Dalmatian a lot.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, back to the Goodfellas. That I swear, those guys, they did one hell of a job with that.
Yeah,
little,
very good. Very good.
Oh,
very entertaining.
Oh, definitely. Next up, I would feel weird if I didn't have this question with a title for the show like Drinking at Moe's. What would you say is your favorite drink, whether alcoholic or non, or one of each? Because I know I've had people on here that don't drink, because I always tell them, hey, just because it says Drinking at Moe's doesn't mean that drink needs to be alcoholic.
Correct. I'm a big seltzer guy. It's tough for me to drink water. My goodness, I drink a lot of seltzer flavored water like that. A ton. I really need to drink more regular water. I drink a ton of that flavored Poland Spring seltzer stuff. In regards to having a cold beer, something like that.
What?
Man, I mean, the Sam Adams Cold Snap this winter was on point.
Oh, yeah.
On point. But
Sam Adams
I drink with the seasons. So, this Oktoberfest, and I literally, I'll sit down, come home from, work, have a beer, go out and watch the game, have a beer. That's about it. Yes, I'm a bit just like Dusty, baby. Dusty drank a little whiskey. I drank a little whiskey and wine, if you will.
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that. I know.
But that's me in a nutshell. Come home, have a cold snap or one of those kind of beers. Or in the summer, Italian food. Have a little what's the ones up Parinas, what are they called? I forgot what they're called. Have some Spanish food, having some, so I'm like seasonal, like themed, whatever's going on.
No, I get you. And hey, you bring
Peroni. So Peroni's with Italian food, maybe some Stellas, whatever. It depends what I'm eating and where I am and, the weather.
Nope. And hey, you bring up Sam Adams. They do have a very wide collection of pretty damn good ones that I've had a good number of them, I will admit. And we did a little bit of a Stone Cold impression there. I'm saving this for Mania. One of the nights of Mania, I haven't decided which. But when I was on a recent trip to my team, the Packers, I got to attend the last game of the season. I found a place that actually sold Broken Skull American Lager.
There you go.
I got one left. I'm saving it for one of the nights of Mania. But
Makes sense.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, that I've had both the IPA and the American Lager. American Lager, oh my God. But hey, El Segundo is not sponsoring the podcast, but I wouldn't be opposed to it if I ever got them to.
Amen to that.
But Next up, another wrestling question. What would you say is a favorite match that you've seen, whether in person or you just got to see it on your TV?
Oof. I'm not going to go with a Dusty because it's too obvious.
Yeah.
Because I love all his stuff, but I think it's Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam. One of those SummerSlams.
The classic one where Bret Hart took the Intercontinental title off.
Yeah,
of
that might be the best
Perfect.
pure wrestling match that I've ever seen. One of my favorites. If we're not going to go Dusty, if we're going to go Dusty, it's almost everything. But I'll always love Dusty versus Flair. When he beat Flair for the title, that's probably the. I'm not sure if it was Bash. It wasn't Starcade, actually. It was when he said the stratosphere is reserved for me and you, baby. The stratosphere. No Horseman. They put him in a cage finally, and it was,
yes.
And Dusty finally climbed the mountain, and actually was in North Carolina too. It was in Carolina. He beat him.
Yes.
So to me, that's my favorite of Dusty. But wrestling match, not Dusty. It's perfect. It's perfect. And Bret Hart.
No, that is definitely.
It's a clinic. It's a clinic. It is so good.
Oh, totally. That is an all-time great one right there. Me being as big of a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan as I am, for me personally, I got to go another one with Bret Hart. That submission match they had, the resulted in that little double turn where Stone Cold became the hot fan favorite and Bret Hart became the hated.
That's definitely up there.
Oh yeah, no,
that's up, especially attitude era. That's up there. That's probably the really changing of the next generation, the new generation to attitude. That match, that moment, really.
Most definitely, and yeah, Stone Cold, top favorite of mine. Not obviously Dusty. I have to say Dusty Rhodes definitely up there. Stone Cold Steve Austin just edges him out for me, but like I have to say I don't get starstruck too easily, but I've said it before, I'll say it again. I ever get to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin, I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out. I just feel like I'd be in awe and just be like like I'd have something for him to sign. I'd just be like,
he'd be like, what?
What's his name?
God, say something, you damn son of a bitch.
Here's your words, kid.
You want me to sign it or what?
Oh, yeah. No, I can see something like that happening because holy crap.
Hopefully you get to meet him.
Man.
I've gotten to meet Hulk. I've gotten to meet Dusty, two of my favorites, and Dustin also, and Cody. I've met most of the Rhodes family. I'm blessed to have met them, and actually they gave me a few minutes to talk to me, so that's up there awesome. For me.
That is awesome. I've mentioned a little bit, even showed off one of my dogs. Would you say you are more of a dog or a cat person?
Definitely dog. Not at the cats at all. Definitely dog.
When my wife and I met, she had 2 cats, and then we started helping out with a foster, like a dog rescue place for that centers around bulldogs. So I've always been a sucker for bulldogs, and it's just carried on.
I've always actually wanted one, but never pulled the trigger. I always wanted a bulldog, actually, but it never happened. And when I was playing sports when I was younger, a lot of my team's name was Bulldogs, and the whole thing was, hey, let's get a team mascot. I'll get a bulldog. It never happened, but beautiful dog.
I recommend going the rescue route because, I mean, obviously people know through breeders, bulldogs are quite the expensive dog.
Yes.
You go through a rescue, especially like the one my wife and I help with, they pay for all the vaccinations. They do a big checkup, make sure they're all good. Obviously, there's some medically fragile ones, but the adoption fee is about half to more than half that what you'd pay for a breeder.
Right.
So, but bulldogs, I'm such a bulldog guy, dog guy in general.
Mm-hmm.
My Great Dane's trying to come up and say hello. I'll try to. Well, if she wouldn't, no, she is like, nope, I don't. I'm camera shy today. But what would you say? I'm gonna kind of reword this from how I asked some wrestlers. Some of the best advice you've been given, because sometimes I ask, what's the best advice somebody has for getting into wrestling?
Right.
And then a lot of people, the answers that they give can be transferred into life in general.
Yeah. Believe in yourself and keep doing what you're doing. Some people, when I started doing this Dusty stuff, either laughed at me or said it was ridiculous or you're never going to get anywhere with this. You know, what it's become and what it means to me now. It always meant to me, what happened was really after COVID, when Cody went to AEW, Dusty really wasn't spoke about. And COVID was finally over. I was going to AEW show, and I literally was either going to wear it or I had a Dusty T-shirt ready to go. And I said, I'm going to wear the polka dots. This is who, this is what I do. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep going. And I did it. And I actually met Dusty's granddaughter that night at the event. Her name is Dakota. She works for AEW. And she came up to me. She goes, "Can I take a picture of you?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You look very familiar." And then I said, I know who you are. You're Dustin's daughter, aren't you? And I said, I didn't even know if they let me in the building with this outfit on. And she says, no. She goes, I love it. She goes, it really caught me off guard that, you're paying tribute to my granddad, and she loved it. And that was a sign for me. Hey, you know what? If you're passionate about something, do it. You know what I mean? That's what Dusty was all about. Reach for the stuff, baby. Get a dream, hold on to it, and reach for it and take it. And I didn't go with my gut and we're like, what do we wanted to do with my passion? I wouldn't have had all these experiences and met all these amazing people and had all these experiences if I would have just said, you know what, I'm going to do this anymore. Nobody, maybe people don't like it or it's not, but I went with my gut and my heart, and it actually, seeing her that night actually told me nothing more to keep it going. And that was, and I think after that I've had to buy like another polka dot outfit and more wigs and stuff. So, but she really, and God bless her, and really nice girl. She actually just had a little baby boy, so he's like the great grandson of a plumber.
That is,
it might be 3 greats, 2. I don't know how many greats it is, but congrats to her and her husband and Dustin for becoming.
I was just remembering that last I heard she was still pregnant, and so now knowing that, hey, they had that happen for them, that is awesome. I am sending my congratulations down their way as well.
This meeting is being recorded.
Look. Oh, there we go. But we're leading off with the advice and the sticking with what you want. And that's how I started the podcast. And very great advice because, I've had some detractors that if I would have listened to them, I would be doing it.
Yeah, I believe it or not, I'd say 95% good feedback from people, but there are some people that have, deterred me or gave me some nasty feedback or comments, but the proof is in the pudding. When you're in the ring with Cody Rhodes and he's smiling and and he's acknowledging you like that. I mean, why am I going to listen to anyone else? Honestly, and the fans I meet and the comments and all the likes and stuff like that, and like I said, I almost was like, maybe I'm not going to do this anymore, and I'm glad I did, because it's, like I said, it's been a great ride, and who knows what the future holds.
Hey, and same with my podcast.
Mhm.
I've been given some great opportunities, so who knows what the future's going to bring.
Listen, just keep going. As Dustin says, keep stepping. Keep stepping. Keep doing what you do. And I believe if you're a good person and you're doing good will happen.
Definitely,
and it's definitely happened to me.
Anyways, that is about all I have. Want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you.
And if you have anything like social media you want to plug, the floor is yours.
No, you could just search my name, Mike Raimondi, on social media. I am the Mike Raimondi, THE Mike Raimondi. It's crazy enough, if you Google Dusty Rhodes impersonator, the first thing that pops up is my face, which is really bizarre to me, because I meet some people and they're like, "What's your?" I'm like, just Google Dusty Rhodes impersonator and you'll find me. You'll find me. And I say I'm not an impersonator, but that's what people have the name have given me. I said, you'll find me there. And then once you find one video, you'll start finding me around. So hopefully more to come. I always tell people, stay tuned. I always say, I don't know how I'm going to top that, but when the first thing happened with the microphone, I said, I'll probably never top that. And now in the ring with Cody, I say, well, I don't know how to top that, but just keep doing what I'm doing. And hopefully Cody has a really long run, and Dusty's in the forefront. He'll always be in the forefront as long as I'm around, and just who knows? I'm just going to keep going to my local conventions. I've been going a lot of independent wrestling, which I've gotten a love for, which I never really did younger. And whenever WWE, AEW comes to town, I just show up as Dusty, and hopefully good stuff happens and have a lot of fun.
Awesome. And it looks like you're going to have a lot of fun. Like I said, that is all I have. I believe it's getting around dinner time here, so I'm going to Have a good one.
Good night.